What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in. This is Alex, and this has been a crazy month. September has just been absolutely nuts. It's been wild. It's been all over the place, and let's get right into it. So overall, though, September has been my most profitable month. I finished with a total of $59,793. Paid 14 grand in commissions, and gross profit was $74,000. So I had absolutely no idea that this was what's going to happen. I had no idea I was going to be able to trade this and make this kind of money. So especially from the first week, as you can see, I was struggling very hard. And I want to get into a little bit of beginning of September and kind of why this really sucked, but why it actually ended up trading or changing the way I was trading for the rest of the month. So finishing off August, it was, the market was getting slower. We started seeing a lot less multi-day runners, a lot, weaker gappers, and as you can see, I was struggling to, I was trading the same way. I was pushing, I was being very aggressive, but I was struggling to make profit because I was over trading. Some of the setups that I was taking just didn't work as much anymore, and so this was, and I think I was, I went for some wild rides on here these couple days too. So after this week, I honestly felt pretty bad about my trading. I felt, like I wasn't doing well anymore. And I was really worried about, making ends meet by the end of the month. And I was like, if this continues, then, it's going to be crazy. And so because I overtraded so much, I ended up getting into this kind of downward spiral where I started taking even more trades to try to make up money, and then even more trades, and then there weren't any good setups, so I took even worse setups, and so it just kept a big spiral all the way down. And I just at the end of this, period, I just stopped and I stopped and I took a step back, and I said, I have to do something different. I can't keep trading like this. The market cooled off, so I have to adapt to the environment. And I would say that emotionally, this was probably the toughest week of trading. I've never traded so poorly this year. I remember beginning of the year, with COVID starting, a lot more volume coming in, a lot more volatility coming into the market. I struggled to kind of adapt to that, but it wasn't so emotionally and mentally tough to trade, and I didn't make as many mistakes as I did here. So at the end of this period, I said things got to change. I said I'm done just trying to trade everything. I'm only going to trade the best A+ setups, and I'm going to stop worrying about money. And so one of the biggest things that I did actually is, I don't know if you can see here, but on my broker page, I have a sticky note on my computer that covers the P&L. And the reason I did that is because I was so focused on money. That's what would drive me to take either profits way too quick or let a loser run, even when the chart says to cut, and I couldn't cut because I look at the loss and it's getting bigger, and I can't cut. It gets bigger, and then it's even harder to cut. So I cover my P&L, and that helps me focus just strictly on the chart. I don't see the numbers, I don't see the money at all. It's all just the price action in the chart. So that is probably the biggest thing that has improved my trading this month, is focusing all on price action and chart as opposed to being more P&L driven. So now let's get a little bit into my stats for the month before we move on to a recap of trades. So I hit a lot of records this month. Obviously, it was my craziest month. Go back to August, I made 11.5 grand, and then September 59 grand. So huge jump. My win rate though suffered a little bit. I was at 75 last month. I'm at 70 for September, and again, that's because of a lot of terrible trades and over trading. Mostly from the beginning of the month, and you can see that there's a lot of red here in the beginning of the month. But my average winners came out to 1,400 per trade. My average percent gain is about 9%. Average loss is about 800. And average percent loss is about 7. So again, worse stats on this too, because I took quite a big where I took bigger losses, and it was just a very tough month of trading. So my stats suffered a little bit. It's a little bit under 2 to 1 risk to reward, but I hit some new records. So my biggest day is 14 grand, and that was on the 24th. My biggest week was 36 grand, and that was the 3rd week of September, and or I guess that would be the 4th. That would be the 4th week of. It would be the 21st, the start of the 21st week, and then monthly. Obviously, this is the biggest month, and my biggest trade was 10 grand. But I got to talk about this day because my biggest trade came on the same day as my biggest loss trade. So basically, it came out to I canceled these trades out, so they were kind of meaningless. But my biggest trade was 10, almost 11 grand. Now stats into some of the patterns. First start days winning 78% of the time, overextended gap downs 50% of the time, gap and craps out of 89%. So that's where most of my money has come from. Almost most of the money. And then let's see, and then bounce shorts, 40 grand on bounce shorts, 45% on scalping. So decent there on the patterns. Now let's jump straight into some of the trades, and we'll talk about that. So KCAC, this was like an IPO SPAC name, and generally I don't allow myself to trade this, but I was trading this, and this was the beginning of the month, and I was just over trading, so obviously I was gonna I traded this. It was just terrible though, but I just didn't size in and size out accordingly. I didn't play off for levels that I usually do. If we look here, this was the 3rd and the 4th. This is how I traded it. I'll pull up the actual trade on it. Okay, so you can see that just I sized in basically at the lows off the bounce, and I was sized in full. I didn't allow myself to add into any pops, and I didn't cut it when it reclaimed VWAP, so that was my mistake there. And I ended up making some money on it, but then I was break even and lost on this trade. But I think it was, I guess, the day prior, I don't have it up here, but the day prior is this day where I sized in to literally in $15, and then I ended up covering into the squeeze after hours because I was just so stubborn and I held it. So I lost on that one and just over traded it. So but now I'm not going to be trading SPAC names. I'm not going to be trading IPOs. It's just not something that I am good at, and this is higher price too, so this is not something I want to take anymore. So let me talk about the 28th. The 28th day was kind of the worst day, pretty much for me in terms of trading, and that's when I had the biggest loss, and that's when I had the biggest gain, all in one day. So CBAT was my biggest trade. That's when I made almost 11 grand on. You can just look at the daily. This had a huge gap on the 25th. It ran pretty big, and the 28th here is when I traded it, and made good money on it. So generally this is a gapper, but it's this is when the action started getting nuts. That 1 week in September, if you guys remember, we had SPI, we had SunW, we had PEC. So there's quite a bit of names running all at the same time, and so CBAT was one of them. And this was a breakout. It was a 52-week high, but it was so overextended the other day, and it gave it all back that the following day I was like, okay, this is done, and this is going to give back all the any pops are going to be sold into. So this, I would say I got a little bit lucky on this one, but basically this is the day it had. I also traded it this day, made some on this day, but obviously it wasn't my biggest trade. This day was, and I sized into this pop, and then they came out with a PR. I don't even remember what it was, and it just squeezed right into these levels here. And so if you're just looking at previous day, this is the level where it topped out at, and so I sized in quite a bit into here, and then I just took it down and I faded it basically down to its lows. I'll show you guys how I traded it. You can see shorted that pop, added into here quite a bit, and so and then I covered down here, and then I tried again late day to see if I can get another flush down, but I didn't. So just solid entries and solid exit on this one. So this was my biggest one. The worst trade was in SunW. This one was really tough, and it's all my fault though. So similar situation. This was one of the ones that ran big, broke out, and this was in sympathy to SPI, and on the 28th. Okay, so here's the mistake that I made. We had the first green day, then we had this overextended day, and it gave it back. So the second day you can play into a pop, and then you can try to fade it down. But I tried to short it again on this green day, and that was the mistake. The mistake was trying to short in anticipation of a third red day, which is a terrible strategy. You don't want to be shorting, trying to take it. One, it's already gone from the 9s all the way down to the 2s, so how much more will it really give back? And taking it on this third day, that's not really going to offer very much. So the other problem that I had with it was I kept fighting it, and I was sized in full into all these pops, and then just cutting when it was breaking out, reshorting, cutting when it was breaking out, and so basically ended up in giving back my my whole day on that. And let's take a look at how I traded this one. I'll just show you my exact. So look, I took shorted this pop. Hindsight, this one maybe it wasn't the worst idea, but this was a first green day, so actually it was a pretty bad idea. You can see short, cover higher, short, cover higher, short, cover higher. So just fighting the stock and just losing a lot of money on that one. The other one that kicked my butt on was ADIL. As you can see, huge squeezer. I ended up taking this trend break down a little bit, made some money on it, and then I decided to go back at it into the afternoon. And what I did was I shorted some of these pops into VWAP, and then ended up going higher. So I cut, reshort, and basically did the same exact thing as SunW, and I just kept on cutting, reshorting, and ended up giving my full day, back all on this, squeeze, and which was terrible because this day, this particular day, I was up 10 grand and gave it all back. So yeah, those are some bad trades, guys, and just what I recommend is not fighting the stock. Make sure you have stop losses, things like that. So a good trade that I did want to talk about is PED, and this is what I basically look for every single morning. And this worked out exactly how I thought it would and exactly how I planned. So you can see that on the 27th of August, Pet had a huge day, and then it's failed and give all of its gains back, and it was like on 100 million shares, right? So what do you think that next time that there's gaps into this previous resistance, what is it going to do? All these people that are stuck up here are going to sell. And so this is just a simple bounce short, and it worked out perfectly. Basically I just shorted pre-market, added some at the open, and took it down. And as you can see, this offered a lot of range, and so you can make decent money on this one. And so this is kind of my ideal chart setup, and this is what I look for. All right, guys, well, thanks for watching my recap. I hope you guys enjoyed it, learned some lessons of what not to do. Even though I had a very solid month, I made a lot of mistakes. Hoping to improve and eliminate all those mistakes that I did this month in October, and see if I can, have a good month. I'm not going to focus on P&L. Whatever I make, and hopefully it's good. But if I eliminate mistakes, maybe it could even be a bigger month. We'll see. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on my pre-market live streams or in the next monthly recap. See you guys later.